Jesse, are you connected? Fantastic. Thank
Yeah,
you for being here.
yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, just several people. That's great. That's great. And just wait a minute. Good afternoon. I'm Yanxi Mou. You can call me Jessie, and from China. It is an honor to have this opportunity to speak at this event on political abuse of psychiatry. And many thanks for Dr. Enric to having me, and thanks for coming. I am a human rights researcher and have been working for the field of Chinese human rights almost 1 decade. I started to serve as a China-based human rights NGO, Civil Rights and Livelihood Watch, since 2014. This is our official opposite. And our main work is to concern about social justice, livelihood issue, and the no-violence struggle of citizens in a long time. Concerning political abuse of psychiatry also has been a core human rights concern of our organization since its inception. Basically, my day job is to hear all kinds of crazy, ridiculous, and terrible stories. One of my main responsibilities is to writing the monthly human rights reports, in which I not only collect human rights violation cases, and also research relevant policies of the Chinese government. Such a work is still ongoing today. As we well know that human rights as the universal value is not merely enshrined in international law, but rather is closely linked to the politics, economic, culture, social justice, and the rule of law within our country. This is why I have always had a very precise understanding of the overall situation in China. Meanwhile, I have witnessed how the human rights situation in China has worsened in recent years. Apparently, working on human rights in China is a quite dangerous career. The Communist Party of China regards someone talking about human rights as who is inciting color revolution. Although I don't quite understand how these two things can be linked. As a famous artist, I will wager to say, when you are willing to understand your country, you are already working on the way to be a criminal. I have never been arrested, but I had been under close surveillance and constant harassment by the authorities as well. Indeed, I had the darkest moment when I was in China. In early 2019, all my research told me that there would be a huge disaster in China, even though I had no idea in what form it would come out at that time. But I tried my best to offer the opportunity of the Fellowship for Human Rights Defenders at Risk by an academic institute in the UK. Then safely left China in November with extremely lucky. I appreciate such a valuable opportunity, and it has saved not only my career, but also my life. I had granted political asylum by the UK government in 2021 and am currently studying for a BA degree in politics at the university. Before I entered the university, I used my experience and knowledge from working at Civil Rights and Livelihood Watch to collaborate with another European human rights NGO, Safeguard Defender, and completed together a very detailed research report on Chinese Ankang system, which is an untypical black prison system where practitioners and detainees who are completely without any mental illness are locked up in psychiatric hospitals for compulsory treatment. In the Civil Rights and Livelihood Watch database, we have collected over 800 individual cases, and nearly 100 victims have been interviewed face-to-face by our citizen journalists about their experiences. But to be honest, the actual scale of the victims in Ankang system is impossible to know. First of all, you need to understand that in China, there are not only legal detention centers, but also black jails that operate outside the law. These black jails are often set up in hotels, training centers, nurse house, and psychiatric hospitals. They are not official prison, but are even worse than prisons. Although all black jails share many similarities, nevertheless, the situation in psychiatric hospital is very special. This is because medical staff in the hospital are free to use so-called treatment as an excuse to torture the victims in ways that are worse than death. I need to point out that the type of persecution was not from the Soviet Union, especially during Brezhnev's time. Any political dissent was considered as a mental illness, which need to locked up in psychiatric hospital for treatment. And the situation is not much different in China today. And the existing psychiatric treatment system was established under the Ministry of Health in 1987 and can be classified into three main categories based on the ministry that administers them: health, civil affairs, and public security. The first type, regular psychiatric hospitals or mental health centers, are administered by the Ministry of Health and are responsible for treating psychiatric patients. Youthful hospitals are administered by the Ministry of Civil Affairs and are responsible for treating retired members of military who suffered from mental illness, as well as people suffering from mental illness who have no source of livelihood, no financial support, and no dependent. Ankang hospitals are administered by the Ministry of Public Security, that is the police, and are responsible for the treatment for mentally ill offenders who have violated the criminal law or endangered public order. The Ankang system, which at the start should have just meant hospitals of criminally insane, which managed by the Ministry of Public Security. But please be aware that there are only 27 Ankang hospitals across China. And in this research report, just 4 victims had been placed in Ankang hospital, which doesn't cover the overall scale of victims at all. However, there is abundant evidence that the political abuse of psychiatry is perpetrated at all the 3 types of hospital: Ankang, Youfu, and general psychiatric. There is no doubt. In this report, we investigated 99 people's cases who had been locked up in psychiatric wards 144 times in the 7 years from 2015 to 2021, covering 109 hospitals in 21 provinces or regions across China. Once inside, victims may stay there for months, even years. There are even 9 victims had been inside for more than 10 years. Others have been locked up again and again. In my research, one woman has sent by the police over 20 times. Many victims were physically and mentally abused, which including forced medication, being tied to the bed for hours or days, beaten, electroconvulsive therapy, and isolated. Even after released, they usually suffered from serious physical and psychiatric trauma. In the most extreme case, the Ankang system can be fatal. Such as these victims, who was from my hometown of Chongqing. Unfortunately, we couldn't get his photo, and this young man is his son, Zheng Wei. As his father, Zheng Jiping, was tortured to death in the Chongqing Youfu Hospital. Zheng Jiping, a 7-years-old retired soldier from Chongqing, and had been petitioning for more than 20 years because police had refused to properly investigate neighborhood dispute that turned into a violent attack on himself and his wife. In 2017, Zheng Jiping was about to go to Beijing to petition again when he was forcibly intercepted by the police on a bus. After the detention center refused to take him, and arguing Zheng Jiping was too old and had been detained too many times already, the police communicated with the Chongqing Youfu Hospital and sent him there for compulsory treatment. Zheng Jiping was found to have liver cancer during a medical checkup, and his family members strongly demanded his release. Then they were willing to transfer him to another hospital to treat his liver cancer. But the police refused to transfer or release him and said that the current hospital could treat his cancer. Nevertheless, Zheng Jiping's liver cancer was not treated further in the psychiatric hospital, but the hospital held him back until his cancer was terminal and he was dying. Then the hospital feared he would die there and his family members would make trouble for them. So the hospital negotiated with the police and sent Zheng Jiping back to his home. Soon after returning home, he passed away. Then I'd like to introduce you a brave young woman whose name is Dong Yaochong. He was born in 1989. She is from Hunan province and used to work as an agent for a real estate company in Shanghai. On the morning of 14 July 2018, Dong Yaochong publicly splashed ink on a portrait of Xi Jinping and live tweeted her action in a short video as a piece of performance art. She claimed to be against Xi Jinping's dictatorship and campaigned that she was under mind control by the Communist Party of China. Because Dong Yaochong sent a clear message to the outside world to strongly oppose Xi Jinping, which sparked huge actions on social media. Since then, she has been nicknamed the Ink Girl. However, after a few hours later, Ink Girl was taken away by Shanghai police after a break-in to her apartment. She was then sent back to her hometown in You County, in Hunan province, by Shanghai police, and was detained at the 3rd hospital of Zhuzhou, which is a regular psychiatric hospital. Her father, Dong Jianbiao, a coal miner in his 50s, said 2 Shanghai policemen had visited the mine where he worked after his daughter was arrested. Although no paperwork had been issued, the police accused Dong Yaochong of attacking a national leader and asked Dong Jianbiao about the family's histories of mental illness. He denied that there was a history of mental illness in his family and insisted that Dong Yaochong was not guilty. But he was fired from his job after that. On 23 July 2018, when a journalist from Radio Free Asia contacted the hospital, the person on the other end of the phone only said, Dong Yaochong is a political prisoner. Dong Yaochong was released on bail on 19 November 2019 and sent to her mother's residence, but was again confined to the 3rd hospital of Zhuzhou on 20 May 2020 and was discharged after 2 months. The 2 experiences in the psychiatric hospital have left her serious damage both physically and mentally, which pains her father greatly. In November 2020, Dong Yaochong posted a short videos on Twitter to stress that he's not mentally ill, and that he was placed in a local government department after her second discharge, but was strictly controlled by the authorities, which he was not only denied the freedom to choose his job, but was also restricted in her freedom to communicate with her friend, and was unable to contact her father. A U.S. diplomat heard about Dong Yaochong's story and wanted to meet her privately through human rights activist Oh Biaofeng. At that time, Dong Yaochong explained that she was currently under complete control and couldn't go out, and that meeting the U.S. diplomat in private could cause her to be suspected of subversion of state power. But Oh Biaofeng said the diplomat insisted that the meeting must be private. So Dong Yaochong had to refused his request. Unfortunately, this matter eventually led to Oh Biaofeng himself being arrested on 3rd December 2020 and charged with inciting subversion of state power. Then, in February 2021, a journalist from Radio Free Asia contacted Dong's father, who confirmed that local government agents had sent Dong Yaochong to the psychiatric hospital again for the third time. Last year, just a month after this research report was released, we received an update on her father, Dong Jianbiao. As a result of his insistence that the authorities released Dong Yaochong, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison and was beaten to death there last September. At the end of last year, we received another update on Oh Biaofeng. He was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months. So far, Dong Yaochong is still in hospital. In girl, I think it is a classic case of being locked up in the psychiatric hospital because of her political dissent. Unfortunately, such persecution continued to take place in China today. There are more and more young victims rather than older people in the past. This young man, his name is Zhang Junjie, a former freshman at the Central University of Pharmacy and Economics, was twice imprisoned in psychiatric hospital for compulsory treatment, for attending white paper protests in Beijing at the end of last year. Zhang escaped from China after he's released from the psychiatric hospital. Now he is arrived in New Zealand and currently in exam. In interviews with the press, he revealed to the outside world his experience in psychiatric hospitals, where he was beaten and injured, tied to the bed in a psychiatric hospital and unable to move for 6 days. And as well as forced medication. He was also abused by doctors and the nurse who said, "You are mental ill when you don't support the Communist Party." At the same time, he also told the journalists about a psychiatric hospital where he met several other practitioners and dissidents who had been held there for years. However, even now that he is in New Zealand, himself and his family members who are living in China have been harassed and threatened by the police. Yeah, it awful, I have to say, all the awful stories. Actually, it is quite difficult for me to regard myself as a human rights defender. I just said that I am a human rights researcher because I cannot defend anything when I was in China. Please allow me to use the Washington Post's comment on this research report. This is life under China's dictatorship, where reforms are ignored, law mean little, and those who campaign are considered mental ill. I have to say that the Communist Party of China is unable to prove good governance to the people, but they are really very good at proving harmful public service. This tragic reality has led to another extremely ridiculous situation in which psychiatric hospitals are filled with normal people who are not mentally ill at all, while patients who are truly mentally ill are not given suitable medical assistance. So, because it is a systemic evil and there are no consequences for the people who started it. That's why I have always thought that ordinary courts are no longer helpful in solving these serious violations of human rights. But I was inspired by the earlier cases of the U.S. visa officers refusing visas to Chinese doctors in obstetric and gynecologic, and based so many clearly evidence that the medical staff in Ankan system are active perpetrators. I suppose the European Union to consider blacklisting all staff in the relevant medical institutions in China from the travel ban of European countries. I suppose which probably could be a possible attempt. but I have no idea if someone can do this. That is my just my a little suggestion. Well, thank you very much, and well, that's all. And if you have any question, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you so much. Any of the attendees wants to make a question? In that case, I will ask, which way out do you see, if any, and why China has become so fragile, so scared of even a girl posting something online? It's hard to understand.
You mean why the authorities just send them in psychiatric hospital to persecution?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, actually, there have several reasons. The first of all, it is an easy way to operate outside the law to arrest people in some location and keep them quiet, keep them keep them let them keep quiet and no longer to petition or publish some dissent online or on social media. That is a very easy way, and because it is beyond the justice system, so there is no sentence. There is no the victims have no idea how long they could stay in such a untypical black jail, and also the very serious tortures in this psychiatric hospital also let them scared, so also caused them serious damage physically and mentally. So after they would be released, they probably many of them just give up to petition or publish any dissent online. That is very quite dangerous place. They could scare them. Most of them very scared to be placed in psychiatric hospital again. So I think that is why the majority reason for the authorities to put these victims in psychiatric hospital. And I have to say, all of them, they are incidents. The court cannot sentence them guilty. So that is a very easy way to lock up them. And oh my God.
Yeah. Thank you, Jesse. Rob is asking on the chat if there are written reports about the kinds of events that are happening in the statistics. How often? How common is this?
You means how often, or?
He's asking specifically for reports. I can already point at your report published by Safe Word Defenders. Do you know any other recent one?
Yeah, actually, no, actually, such a serious human rights violation cases almost reported by in Chinese. So that's why I actually, when I was arrived in the UK, I also that was a fellowship for human rights defenders. When I introduced the situation in China, and I found people completely have no idea, for the reality. So that is why I collaborated with Safeguard Defender to write this report in English. It is, I think I could use my skills on English language to build a bridge. And because I realized the English speaker world and the Chinese speaker world, basically they are isolated. So I could be a bridge to communicate it, these two words, and then letting English people to know more about the real situation in China. I think that is my that is my responsibility. Okay, actually, if you have any interest in to read the research report about the ANCA system in China, you can scan this code to download the complete report. Yeah, this code you can use your phone or other. This is.
I also put it in the chat, and I will ask you that 27 centers in the ANCAN system, how accurate is that? As if they're asking for statistics starting from that, and how many researchers in the West are working like you, able to reach the specific numbers that it's a good start.
Actually, I have no idea. I always, I think there are several, human rights researchers who work on, China, China's situation in several human rights NGOs, but they have their own responsibility, their own duty to do their job. And because I work for Civil Rights and Livelihood Watch for quite a long times, and I have the first-hand materials to writing research report, and I hope there will be more human rights researcher can doing similar work as I do. I have done, and because it is really important to let the English speaker world know what is happening in China.
Waiting for somebody else to ask a question if they want. Posing another one. How hard it is to reach for the sources now that you're outside? How difficult and how risky as well for the people to speak out?
Yeah, it is. It is not easy. It is really not easy to let people speak out their experiences. But actually, why I always said the actual scale of victims is unable to know, because all the data, all the information, all the details, basically they were from victims themselves or their family members. Unless they speak out or contact with our frontline journalists, we have no way to know their experience. So and as I know, indeed there are so many victims who want more people know their experience, and so that's why they speak out. And I clearly remember victims who is from Sichuan. He clearly told our journalist, I hope the press or media can report my stories. Otherwise, nobody knows until I would pass away. That is a very, very sad statement. Also, this sad, tragic, stories also inspired me a lot. And because you can see, even they in such a terrible situation, they were still fighting back. That's I always consider, if I am in the similar condition, I probably just give up. But their courage also inspired me a lot for my work. Well, please ask your question.
Hi, Yanxi. It's a pleasure to hear you. I was gonna ask something related to the last comments that you made. I was wondering, in such a difficult situation, what were some of the sources of resistance? How is it that an artist is brave enough to commit a public act of resistance? And you mentioned the inspiration of other victims speaking out. What do you see are sources to be able to resist in the fear and the control that you describe by the government?
Yeah. See, because I have never, never do the frontline job, interview job, but based on, our frontline journalist experience, sometimes they they just dating a secret place to chatting with the victims, but I have to say these victims also they know the risks to, they are clearly aware of, the risks to speak out. And we are not just our journalists. Generally, they are not just writing down to record their, their words. They also make videos. And also made the interview process as videos and upload on YouTube. And because YouTube is the only website, probably the only website, such a kind of interview videos would not be delayed by the system. But unfortunately, all the videos, all the interviews, just interviews in Chinese and no English subtitles. So I think that is why English speaker cannot understand what they said. So that's why I organized all the data and just pick up the individual cases and write down the stories and collaborated with Safeguard Defender to publish this research report. I think probably it is mean a lot for these victims. That is the only thing I can do.
Yanxi, you mentioned hotels used as black jails.
Yeah, yes.
And that means that the 27 hospitals that are used to hold people as psychiatric patients or mad people without any kind of trial, it is much more common, or can be more common. It's just spread around anywhere. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, the 27 Ankang hospital, which management by the public Ministry of Public Security, that is the police, but Ankang system is very just there were just 4 victims in this this research report were placed in such a kind of hospital, but more victims they were locked up in regular hospital, psychiatric hospitals and or youthful hospitals. That is more common. So, and also I think 27 Ankang hospital is very small scale to locked up, criminally, insane. And so that's why more incidents, practitioners and visitors were locked up in regular psychiatric hospital. That is more common.
Thank you. Any other question? Well, I'm going to share it's an anecdote, because after all, we cannot go anywhere to corroborate just my experience being there, of somebody telling me this kind of extraction of organs. It's happening in that dark street. You do not need to picture a hospital. I know it happened there. I do not know. I haven't been there. I do not have a clue. But it maybe it's a different perspective, that we imagine things being one way, and maybe what the labeling of somebody being mad, it can just happen at dog any point. How is that exactly, your experience?
Because you mentioned about transfer organ of victims, and also it is another topic of this event, and I actually in this research report, it also individual cases quite close linked with another kind of human rights violations situation. There is a woman also from my hometown Chongqing, and she actually many years ago, when she was arrested in a labor camp, and were also locked up a lot of Falun Gong practitioners, and she had witnessed another women victims was forced taking over her organs alive, and also this woman also in similar dangerous situation, and as far as his relative just helped her and saved her from that camp labor campus. And after he was released, he also interviewed by some journalists, and she revealed the true situation in that campus. So this action caused her was arrested in psychiatric hospital again, and the authorities charged her to charged as a liar to talk about enforced transfer organ in the campus. So she is still in. Until now, she is still in that psychiatric hospital, and even her family member cannot visit her as well. And it is really, really dark, even case in my career experience. And you can read my research report. There is that woman is really brave, but also it is a tragic. It's a tragic. And actually, at the start, when she was locked up in psychiatric hospital, her family members had no idea where she is. And after her family members go out to find her, after that nobody knows. And that is another issue, enforced disappearance. That belongs to another human rights violation situation. It is so I have to say, even though I know many people have no idea or cannot believe such a cool situation could happen in China, but I have to say such a situation is existing, really existing, and more and more evidence shows it is really, happen in China. Well, it is sacrificed for you.
Yes, indeed, and thank you so much. I will ask one single thing that you will point at for people to read other than your report, for making their mind on their own to really see and decide, because it's really hard to believe it's the first time that you hear about any of this, despite knowing that there is the great fraud, there is any effort to deny and then maybe acknowledge re-education camps, anything you want to call it. The history is known from Tiananmen and before. Still hard to cope with reality. There is any resource that you would point other than your report?
Yeah, I know people is hard to believe the reality in China. Actually, even me, have been working in this area for almost 1 decade. Sometimes I could be shocked for some new cases. That is many of them you cannot imagine, before you heard it. But basically my job every day, my day job is to fact checking. I will consult the evidence the victims themselves proved, or their family members and their friends proved to our organization. And also, I will consult about different sources in one cases. And so my day job is to doing fact check. So at least I can say I cannot say 100%, but I can say up to 90% cases which were released by our organization, they are true. And even even it is really ridiculous, but you can organize all the details, all the informations, and but you can confirm it. And I know, and also I think, but unfortunately, all the information basically they are in Chinese. We have no sources to translate all the things in English. That is a very difficult reality for me, and that's why I decided to keep going on my work, and someday I can collaborate with other organization to release another topic to describe another subject, human rights, about human rights violations issues in China. So that is my plan, I think. And yeah, as I think that is my duty to do more.
Thank you, Yanxi. We'll leave it here if you wish. If nobody else wants to ask anything, just thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow we start at 3, Berlin time, Madrid time. Yeah, and I'm very happy that you're in the UK. You could make it, and hopefully more people like you, like Zhang, are going to be able to just live through this experience to help nobody else having to go through this. There is no justification that we can see in any political sense. Thank you so much for working on that.
And thank you so much. And it is a really valuable opportunity to speak out and to invite me to speak out such a serious human rights violations in China, to let more people know that. And so many thanks for your volunteer to translate it in Spanish, in a Spanish version. If you completed it, please let me know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is one of the other things. Technology is here to translate anything very quickly, and
Yeah.
takes a few seconds to detect if anybody is talking about any leader or anything. it should be used for the well-being of everybody. It seems so easy. So no excuses. I have no idea. I am looking forward to read anything that you have to publish at the public. Is that what you're saying now? To really make sense of any of this craziness that we are experiencing collectively. It's really hard to make sense of it. And at the end, I guess it's affecting people. Yeah, I mean, it's affecting people for those, sure, but this break with reality, it's really hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it is a really hard work, because even when I was writing it, a lot of clearly evidence also let me feel so sad, and also I almost sometimes almost crashed during I writing this research report. So it's a really hard work, and I just hope there would be more Chinese researcher can doing similar work. That is my hope. And thank you very much, and see you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody, for being present. We are going to close now. See you next session if you want.